coffee shop owner will use this dollar to buy a loaf of bread from a baker. The baker will use it to buy wheat from a farmer. The farmer will use it, well, to buy a cup of coffee. And this cycle keeps going. I call this cycle economic velocity.
So that $1 becomes $3 worth of economic velocity.
And that's a simple explanation. In reality, that $1 bill will keep getting passed around, and it keeps going and going, fueling more and more economic velocity. In sum, if there's money flowing from one hand to the next, if economic velocity is high, then we know our economy will expand. If it is low, if people are stuffing money away, the economy will shrink. And right now, John, our economic velocity is high. It's screaming high, and I believe it's about to go higher, much, much, much higher.
Okay, how can you be so certain?
Because there are three catalysts that fuel economic velocity. Now, this is important, so pay close attention. The first is the demographic catalyst. This is when a massive group of people fuel the economy by spending money. The second is the capital catalyst. This is when our government fuels the economy with pro-business policies by slashing taxes, cutting interest rates, or unwinding regulation. And the third is the innovation catalyst. This is when a surge of new technologies hit the market at one time, fueling economic growth. Here's the thing, John. Just one of these financial catalysts can spur economic growth. But when three of these financial catalysts converge, economic velocity starts ripping. And our economy, it soars. Remember my presentation, John, when I showed the chart of the Dow? I'm going to pull a similar one up right now. Let's take a look.
Of course. Now, how the market went up 200%, then on to 1,000% twice. And now you believe it's happening for a third time?
Right. Well, the first time is known as the golden age. The stock market, it soared from 100 up to nearly 1,000. That's because of economic velocity. And take a look. There was a demographic catalyst after World War II. 8 million men came home from overseas, and they had uncashed paychecks. So you had a lot of men with a lot of money who were ready to start families.
So economically speaking, that's a big cash injection.
Right, and that converged with a capital catalyst. The US government passed the GI Bill, helping these men get loans to buy homes and start businesses. And the government also lowered interest rates. They slashed taxes and started the Interstate Highway Project. This also converged with innovation. TVs started showing up in people's living rooms, new appliances in people's kitchens, and credit cards in people's wallets.
So there were actually three catalysts converging, and economic velocity took off.
And the Dow, it soared from roughly 100 to 1,000. So those who invested in the stock market made a 1,000% gain. And those who chose to invest in companies that helped fuel this economic velocity, they made a fortune. Take, for example, General Electric. This company was at the forefront of selling everything from radios to TVs to appliances. And their stock, listen to this, went up an unbelievable 2,200%. And then the same thing happened from 1980 to 2000. This is during the boomer age. It's a clear pattern. There was a demographic catalyst as baby boomers, 72 million of them, turned 35 and then entered their peak spending years. They started buying houses, cars, starting families, and as they spent more and more money, economic velocity, it soared. So the capital catalyst saw lower interest rates, easier access to the stock market, and looser government regulation. The innovation catalyst, this came from the rise of the internet. And new companies were being formed every week, and productivity absolutely soared. Economic velocity, it took off, and dot-com boom was born.
And the Dow soared from 1,000 to over 10,000, another 1,000% gain.
Exactly, and once again, those who invested in the stock market, they did incredibly well. But those who invested in the companies that were at the absolute forefront of economic velocity, those folks, they made a complete, utter fortune. Intel, for example, was at the forefront of the internet and computer boom. It went up, listen to this, 8,400%, John, 8,400%. Safeguard Scientifics, which invests in tech startups, this went up 14,000%. And Walmart, which delivered the goods to all the baby boomers, soared 39,000%.
These gains are really incredible. So you believe the same thing will happen during America 2.0?
Exactly. For the third time, we could see the stock market soar a full 1,000% during this era that I call America 2.0. And here's why. We have the demographic catalysts. These are 87 million millennials who are now entering their prime spending years. These millennials are finally moving out of their parents' houses and spending all that money they've saved. We also have the capital catalyst. We're near the lowest interest rates in history, sitting under 3%. We also have very low taxes. Add to this the effort by the government to ease up on regulation, allowing businesses to operate more freely. And as a result, our economic velocity is ramping up. Now let's take a look at the third factor. The innovation catalyst is even more impressive. Just look at them. 5G, the Internet of Things, autonomous vehicles, artificial intelligence, smartphones, green energy, and a host of other technologies that are flooding the economy. And the Dow, it's set to soar from 10,000 all the way to 100,000. We're merely at the start of this historic rally, John.